Thanks for tuning in. We have another episode of COMPSTAT Review. Welcome to another week of COMPSTAT Review. Here with me today is our crime analyst, Andrew Robinson, and our public information officer, David Demchek. And we look forward to addressing some of the crime that occurred this week. But we'll start with the basic COMPSTAT and stats. So for murders, we are 0 versus 0 across the board and 0 versus 1 compared to last year. So we're down 100%. And we look at rapes, we're 0 versus 0 for the week to date, 1 versus 1 for the 28 day, and 6 versus 10 for the year to date. So we're down 40%. And when we look at felonious assaults, we're 1 versus 0. And then for 28 day, we're 7 versus 5. We're slightly up 2 there, 40%. And for the year to date, we're 76 versus 71. So we're up 5, and that's 7%. For burglaries, we're 1 versus 2, so we're down 50%. And for the 28 day, we're 5 versus 3. So we're up 66%. And for the year to date, we're slightly up 1, 50 versus 49, 2%. For larcenies, we're 0% for the week to date. And for the 28 day, we're 14 versus 10, so we're up 40%. And for the year to date, we're 15 versus 8, so we're up 87%. For auto thefts, we're up 1, so we're 3 versus 2 for the week to date, so we're up 50%. For the 28 day, we're 14 versus 10, so we're up 40%. And for the year to date, we're 112 versus 136, so we are down for auto thefts for the year to date. We're down 10%. And when we look at our traffic fatalities, we're 0 across the board. We have, for the year to date, we're 1 versus 1 compared to last year. And for traffic crashes, we've seen a significant increase. For the week to date, we're 14 versus 9. So we're up 55%. And I think a lot of that has to do with the opening schools and more cars in our neighborhood. Also, for the 20 day, however, we're down 40 versus 45. So we're down 11%. And for the year to date, we are down 11%, 367 versus 416 for total crashes.
So go ahead, Andrew. Our first crime this week that we will discuss is felonious assault. Officer Dave, you were actually on that case, I believe, so I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, so this was an assault that took place in our city, obviously, by a known suspect. The person was obviously arrested and pending prosecution. But as Andrew, as we spoke and the chief wanted in that prior episode, we wanted the public to know is that if you see something, say something. In and around some of these assaults, many people see some of the things that happen and everything else, and we don't want just the 911 caller. If there's other people that know something, see something, we definitely want the 911 services available for everybody. So use it appropriately, and please let us know if you see something, please say something.
And the police are there to help you, so don't be afraid to approach the police. I know in today's day and age, there's a lot of fear about the police, but there shouldn't be. We need to move back to a period of time where people can approach the police safely and come tell us what's going on, because if we don't know what's going on, we can't help you.
Absolutely. I think the public has been really good, Chief. I mean, when we were looking at the numbers before we started with Andrew, we looked at this, and Andrew, you and I were talking about this the other week. We said, hey, when we look at the total crimes, the Chief just went through the numbers, 278 to 300 over the year, and we're in the fourth quarter for 2024. We're down 7%. Now, 7% may sound small, but over the entire year, to have a crime drop of 7%, I mean, that's great news. I mean, this is something that it shows it's working. Our officers are in the field, our officers are handling cases, and our detectives are doing great work. And it's showing that the public knows that, hey, we're going to handle these cases, we're going to respond. And to be down 7%, I think is a great thing to actually celebrate. It's good.
Absolutely, especially considering that is against the national trend.
Absolutely.
That was released by the FBI just earlier last month.
I mean, we're in the business of keeping crime down, and we just want to make sure we continue to do that. And that's why we do these COMPSTAT reviews. That's why we calculate these numbers. We find solutions, make sure that we have the right tools to combat crime. And we constantly, we need the public support, obviously, and that's important. Trust, the community's trust is really important, helping us in solving these crimes as well.
No, absolutely.
So we will move on to our next crime, which was a burglary, and I will also call Officer Dave in to speak about that one.
So we spoke on burglaries a couple weeks ago in regards to kind of what can happen in this particular B&E. It was in our commercial district on Joseph Campo, and we saw in this particular case, a theft. Thankfully, a lot of people have video. There's some video information. And at times, in this particular case, what we wanted to kind of draw attention to that we thought was kind of important for this one in preparing today is that even though somebody may not want to prosecute, in this particular case, we have some difficulty with the actual victim wanting to help us. And the only thing we could say to the public is let our detectives do their job, because let them fully investigate the case, because ultimately, the person made the 911 call, they made the complaint, and we want to make sure that we can take these perpetrators, these suspects off the streets and let them know, hey, Hamtramck is not a place to commit a crime. And so, help us help you, in that old saying. So if you see something, say something, but if you do have a crime that's been committed, we ask that you help participate in the process with those detectives. They're working tireless hours to work some of these cases, and they have great success. Some of our detectives are highly skilled and trained, and it's something to definitely praise them about and help them do their job. So if you see something, we want that participation from our residents, our business owners, and we've got great support. And we've seen throughout this summer, our businesses are supporting us, our residents are supporting us. I drive around the city with officers, and residents are waving. We wave back. The celebration of public safety is great in our city. And so it's just a thing to say, hey, let us help you, with these crimes and get these people out of the city. So,
and the increase in technology that we've seen recently is enabling us to work even easier with the public. We now have instituted, via our Detective Bureau, Chief Altahari, and the City Council, they've allowed us to start using Axon Community Request, which makes submitting evidence to the police even easier. No longer do you have to worry about an officer coming and sitting in your home for 20, 30 minutes while we try to get video off of your system. You can now submit it yourself through a link.
Yeah, that's something we actually talked about that earlier, that we're gonna make a video and show people how easily and how accessible it is to provide us some information, especially video data.
Sure.
Without us going to their homes or businesses.
Yeah, and Chief, as you know, when we've used it, and as Andrew has said, a lot of the residents or business people who have had an incident, the officer on scene will send them a link, and they go ahead and they can do it on their own time. Sometimes people are late for work; they have to leave the house, get the kids to school, get to work, whatever it may be. And so, if there's documentation that they need to have, they can take a video, they can upload photos. That technology piece that the city has given to the department is phenomenal, because it helps save time for the officers, helps save time for the public. So I think it's a great piece of information.
Really is.
Absolutely.
Andrew, I think you've got a bunch of information on autos this week.
Yep. So we are, as you see, we were a 50% increase in auto theft this week. And this is a topic that we've covered several times, but it's one I want to touch on again. Last week, we had seen the newer models Dodge thefts cut down. But this week, when I was reviewing the data, we are again 2 newer model Chrysler products that have been stolen, and another Kia. But why that's important is it allows me to again reiterate the importance of taking your vehicles in for the prescribed maintenance and the recalls that have been issued on those cars. Chrysler and Kia have both issued recalls on a lot of the issues that will prevent your car from being stolen. They've patched the problems and the exploits that are being used by the high-tech thieves. And so please do not hesitate. Call your dealer, answer your recall cards, go get your cars fixed. And I know Chief Altahari was showing me earlier today in the Crime in Hamtramck Facebook page, there was a discussion about RFID blocking boxes or bags. And those are great things, and those can help your vehicles from, people from, especially on close range RFID. But more importantly, any tool that you have to help prevent your car being stolen, an RFID blocking box, a club, an immobilizer, those are all great things. But the thing we really want to stress this week is take your vehicles in for the recalls, because those are a massive exploit that's being patched that can help keep your car in front of your house.
We were talking about a simple one, Andrew, just before we started this, that those Dodge Ram pickups, they had the latch for the rear truck bed. It's a safety issue. I mean, you can be driving down the road, the latch doesn't open, and the dealerships will gladly fix those. It's a safety recall that's been out for a little over a year, and so many people we see that don't even get that fixed. So
Correct. Don't ignore your recalls. You may think they're minor, but especially in the case of the high-tech auto thieves, it's not minor. It can prevent your car from being stolen by one of these high-tech auto thieves.
absolutely.
Do you see any kind of trend or some patterns with? I know we talked about some of the cars are very similar. For some reason they targeted. I know we talked about the Kias, right? About
Yes.
how easy. But is there anything else that we can add? Do you think, David? Or?
So some of the people who had sent in some messages, if you remember, they had said, where are some of these happening? And I know Andrew and I were talking about developing a map to see how these are actually targeted. We have, with the addition of COMPSTAT, it's allowed us to be able to have transparency with the city as far as what our numbers are. Where do we stand as a department, as a city, in relation to the nation? But also, how are we trending, in that week-to-date, 28-day and year? But they also have sent in those messages that said, are there some hotspots in an area? And so obviously the department knows about the hotspots. We have detectives pursuing certain hotspots, and there's active investigations and things like that. But there are some things that some of the residents have said, hey, can you make a map or something? And I think Andrew and I are exploring that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of these incidents, they're kind of all over the place. Sometimes I was under impression at the beginning, when I first got here, there was a lot of cars being stolen during the nighttime, late hours. But then we noticed that there's also, even during daylight, one in particular was in a parking lot of a meat market store. So, I think these criminals are just finding opportunities to just, wherever they find them.
Most criminals are opportunists. They will take the opportune moment that they have to commit that crime. It doesn't necessarily matter the time of the day or the day of the week or even the location. If they see an ability and they see a newer model Dodge product that is not protected by some other thing, they can try to get in there. They can try to jack into the system and steal the car. The same with the Kias.
I know, Dave, you have a lot of experience coming from the private sector dealing with fraud investigations. And I think something that we can explore is what's the role of some of these auto repair or chop shops, quote unquote, involved in this. That's something we should explore with Detroit. I think we talked about that. But
Our auto theft unit historically has had a lot of interaction with that. And from the private sector, I've had cases involving the department in some of those claims as well. But real quick, to touch back upon opportunistic crimes. Andrew, a couple weeks ago we spoke, and you even added, when we look at thefts, specifically at night, the average citizen or business owner says, I feel most vulnerable at night, even though so many of these happen during the day. And when we talk about a theft or a robbery or something like that, we gave the public some information, and I think it's a good time to reiterate that I don't remember ever going to a theft or a B&E call, breaking and entering call, where there was a motion light. I do not remember one in years and years and years. And it's so cheap, maybe, $20, $30, $40 can change the difference, because opportunistic criminals are going to go to a dark place that they feel secure, that they can hide. These crimes are often of secrecy, of, cloak, and they want the darkness. So, if it's your property, if somebody's there in the night, use a motion light. That's what they're built for. That's what they're made for. And Andrew, you had a great topic. I mean, you'd said that there's even solar powered ones that are very, don't even need to be hardwired in. So
Absolutely. And they're relatively inexpensive if you go to a place like Harbor Freight or even many of the online shopping apps that are there. They may take a little longer to get here, but you can, for a minimal amount of money, take small mitigation steps. Now, one of the things that I want to discuss on that, when we discuss clubs, immobilization devices, motion lights, cameras, there had been some commentary online that we're blaming the residents, and that's not at all what we're doing. What we're doing is we're giving you helpful tips to help us mitigate crime. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, we cannot be everywhere all the time. Our officers patrol, they patrol based on, like you said, some of the mapping, the hotspots, but we're not an infinite amount of people. There will always be a portion of the city where there's not an officer. While an officer is on one street, another street is not there. And, these crimes aren't something, in a lot of cases, that take 30 minutes or a half an hour. They happen in a moment.
And Andrew, as you see, a lot of times it's opportunistic for a visual sight. They go in, they see a cell phone left. They see a set of home house keys left in a tray. They go in, they see a high-priced value, maybe an extra purse or something like that in the back seat, or they see some Christmas presents left instead of putting them in your trunk.
A backpack, or even just a pile of change in your cup holder.
Exactly. So, these crimes, we're not saying the public is at fault at all. What we're trying to say is, here's some initial, very simplistic things to help move the criminal away from your car to another vehicle. I mean, if criminals are going to be criminals. And so with that, the club is, I don't remember one theft of an automobile that had a club. So when it's an easy way to push the criminal to not be as opportunistic. And oftentimes, then they keep looking down the street, and that's when our public, we say, if you see something, say something. And that public resident, when they see somebody looking in vehicle to vehicle to vehicle, then they end up calling 911, and our officers respond very quickly.
And as a former dispatcher, I can tell you that happens a lot. We'll get a call, hey, there's somebody walking down the street looking into cars. That's a call we're going to immediately send an officer to if they're available.
Absolutely.
To go check that out.
Absolutely. Chief, I know following up, the Citizens Academy is coming up. I know we spoke on that, and with the holidays coming, we talked about fall, but you had said that you're going to target that to spring, correct?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on, obviously. Election time, then you have the Halloween coming up, and some other events that you're aware of, and also, Thanksgiving. So we figure we might push it off a little to January. We have it all set, thanks to your help, and everything's ready to go. Really, we're going to launch it. We'll just start now, trying to attract and also recruit the best possible candidates for this Citizens Academy.
Yes, and I think it's going to be great because this was geared for adults. Correct. Over the age of 18, and there's going to be some more information rolling out about that. I know you've got a pamphlet and a whole bunch of information that you put together. So with that, I think that is going to be very nice. And then following up on that is also Chief's Corner, right? So that's something that I know you said the mayor is going to be one of the first people on, I think, at the end of November or mid-November?
Yeah, so mid-November, we look forward to having the mayor here, and also nice to have his, analysis on what he sees out there, what he thinks about the police department. What can we do better? And I think he truly cares about the police department, but also the safety of the residents. So it'll be nice to have him here, also share his thoughts on that. And it's not just the mayor. We're going to have some different events from members of the church community, as well as maybe some, other religious leaders, but also some community activists. We want to make it flexible. We want to give everybody a chance to.
Yeah, I think you said the Red Cross. I think we said some people from housing. Correct. And even Parks and Rec, and just a breadth of people from the entire city.
But, diverse voices have from diverse perspectives. That's important. I think it makes us not only safer, but also ensures that we're inclusive. That's really important too, especially for this city of Hamtramck. So yeah, we look forward to it. We'll have that posted very soon. The flyer itself, and then also we're going to encourage people to apply, but we also want people to recommend anyone you feel like can benefit from this, and we're really targeting people in leadership capacities.
All right. I think that wraps it up for me. Andrew, you have anything?
Before we wrap up, I wanted to, on behalf of the chief and the department, thank everyone for your comments and your continued discussion on the drone situation. We're going to continue to monitor that, and we will update you when we have any updates.
That's great. Chief, anything?
No, I just want to thank, I think we talked about, we have the press release, right? We'll give a little later on.
Yes.
Okay. So, we're here to keep you safe, and it's what we do. And we can't do it without your support. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in for COMPSTAT Review. We appreciate your comments. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode.